What do you think is the emotion that you get most in your clinic when people come in with pelvic floor needs?
Fear. What does this mean, and what could be taken away from me because of this, in the sense of movement? What type of mum can I be? Will I run after my kids in the park? Will I ever exercise again? Just look at what happens to the pelvic floor. It stretches twice its length. If you did that to your hamstring, walking would feel pretty funky for quite a while, right?
That's it.
100% of women will have some diastasis recti by 35 weeks of pregnancy.
So that means everybody. You don't need to plan to avoid it, because you can't.
No, you can't avoid it.
Dear Mum, this is an episode you are not going to want to miss. We discuss some really important topics, including your pelvic floor, diastasis, and everything in between. We have the wonderful Clare Bourne, physiotherapist extraordinaire and mum. She juggles the juggle. She wears a lot of hats. She is incredible and a very good friend of mine, and I am so excited to dive right in. But before you grab your cup of tea, a quick reminder to please follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Right, let's go. Clare, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. I feel like actually we haven't caught up in a really long time, so this is the perfect opportunity.
We'll do it with everyone.
To have our catch up just with everyone listening. Before we start though, can you give me your mum's stats? So how many kids you have, names, age, and one word to describe them?
Absolutely. So I have 2 children, Poppy, who's 9, and Jonas, who is 6. And I've got another one on the way. Nearly 20
She's
weeks.
She's going to join me in the mum of 3 camp.
You have influenced me into having 3 children.
You know what? People message me quite a lot saying, please stop posting about it because you're making it seem too fun. I'm like, guys, it is really fun. You should all come and join me.
It's exhausting and fun all at the same time.
It's chaotic, but it is. I feel like having 2 kids is chaotic.
I was going to say, like, it's all chaos. So we just made the decision, like you, that we're just going to go for it. And more is joyful.
More is
more. More is more.
In every
sense. Washing and everything.
You won't regret it. It'd be so sweet.
It.
It'd be so sweet. Okay, so one word to describe. You obviously don't know number 3 yet, but one word to describe the other 2.
Oh, creative. Poppy is a real creative. She's amazing. And Jonas is very cheeky, like his mother.
And do they get on well with each other?
Really, really well. They have a lovely relationship.
Oh, sweet.
Super close. And really have each other's back. I mean, obviously they're siblings, they fight, but overall love seeing them together, and they love each other. And they tell each other.
Nice. I feel like you probably have less physical fighting, having a girl and a boy.
True.
Especially with a girl being the oldest.
Yes, true. I mean, he still needs to get that out somewhere.
Who takes the brunt?
My husband. They beat each other up.
Well, it's a real boy thing, isn't it?
Yeah, they need it. And it is, just fun wrestling.
Well, it is fun until it's my 2 kids, and then it only ends when it's not fun.
Yes, so true. So true.
I find it really triggers me, that kind of playing, because obviously I'm a girl. I grew up close to my sister, and my 2 brothers are much younger. I didn't play fight. The boys, I don't know if they even did, because they were so far apart in age, but me and my sister didn't do that.
No, I know.
So I feel like I don't deal with that kind of play very well, and I'm always try to intervene, and it's like you said, they need to do it.
They need to do it.
Make sure it's safe and then just let them at it.
Have some pillows.
I know.
Around you.
But what's so scary is that Darcy's now thinking that's the normal way to play.
She'll love it, yes.
Although I've spoken about it recently, how interesting it is how she's going for all the girly things when none of them are surrounding her at home.
No.
At every play group, she's straight in with the dolls,
so
and they're
isn't it?
pretend makeup things. She carries handbags all the time, and we don't have those at home.
No.
So it must just be innate.
I think that's it. I think with, however you view gender, it will express itself in some way.
Yeah, we never said to the boys, you have to play cars and tractors, although people who buy them presents and things
there is an element of that.
Generally go there, but they are just
I think they're just wired, I think each human is wired in a certain way.
I know.
And I think that will express itself as it comes through.
Although we've got a mid-range. Our middle one, he loves to wear a tutu and
that's sweet.
Loves a unicorn, but also loves superheroes, and
great.
I love it.
That's what I say about colours and stuff. I'm like, guys, they're colours. You just pick whatever you like, and if that's what you really love, then great.
That was what was so sad about Alfie starting school. His favourite colour was pink through and through, and then week 1 of school, can't even have a pink spoon. He's like, pink is for girls, can't do it.
Shame.
It was like a crash landing into the real world for me, being like, oh God,
you
my
can't
little
protect
boy
them
is out in the
anymore.
world. It was really sad. But at home, obviously, I'm like, pink is for everybody. So you're expecting number 3.
I know.
Let's just talk for a second about all the hats that you wear, because we met all those years ago.
9 years ago.
When I was personal training you,
Yes.
and then we realised that we could help each other. So we sort of passed clients to and from each other, which was so lovely.
So nice.
And then we just became good friends from then. So that was, how old is Poppy now?
So she's 9. Yeah.
9. That was 9 years ago.
I know.
But you wear a lot of hats.
Quite
Tell me all the things that you do.
Yeah, so I guess I am a mum, first and foremost, in many WhatsApp groups, sorting many things for school.
Gosh, yeah.
So that's a big part of my life. And my employment, I run a business, so I am a physiotherapist. I support women through, women, men and children with their pelvic health or pelvic floor.
Very important.
Very, very
Men
important.
Have pelvic floors too.
Absolutely. So I do a lot of clinical work still. I'm heavily in the clinical world still, 3-4 days a week. I've written a book. I do a lot of talks corporately and otherwise on the topic of pelvic health. I have a team of physios who I support and mentor as well. Obviously try and be a wife,
No, that was the bottom of the list,
I'm like,
it?
oh yes, that came first.
That's crazy.
So yeah, lots of bits and pieces, but I genuinely love them all. I think I'm a creative at heart as well. So though I love clinical work and being a scientist nerd.
You share so much of your knowledge and insight on Instagram too, which, as we know, takes so much time.
So much time, and you forget it. But actually, it also is very nurturing for me, because I feel like it gives me a creative outlet, which I don't get in other environments.
And also, it makes your work accessible to those who might not be able to come to see you, whether it's like a geographical, hardship they live in a different country to you, or financial, anything like that. So I think it's amazing that you do all those things, but my goodness,
it's a lot.
The
diary is always full.
How do you juggle it?
Not well at times, but
you do.
Not myself. So both me and my husband work part-time, basically. Right. So, the post-pandemic and having 2 kids and stuff, as we were then navigating the school system, we realised that really we had to set ourselves up so we could survive school holidays, school pickups. And actually what worked when they were little just wasn't going to work for the next season from 4 until 18, which is quite a long time of your life.
Yep.
So we sat down and we were like, realistically, we're both, he's a doctor, we're both clinicians. It's not a work from home sort of job where you can just be like, I'll just do between 9 and 2 and work around the school run. We're either in or we're not in.
Yeah.
So we realised that we'd have to go sort of part-time clinical and then work out other bits and pieces. So we do that. We also have both sets of grandparents nearby.
That is something I wish someone had told me before I had kids.
Yeah.
Like, you need to pick a place to live that is right near the parents that are going to help you, because we didn't think ahead to that very well.
I know. But it's hard, isn't it? I mean, we're really fortunate we're both from the same area, so we grew up together. So almost when we were moving somewhere, it sort of made sense to be there, because then you didn't have to pick a family. I think it's a complex thing, it also has to work for your career and how so many factors. So we're really, really fortunate to have that. So my parents do a lot of sort of heavy lifting childcare, as I like to say, in the school holidays and stuff. And my husband's parents do a lot of ad hoc bits and pieces for us. So that's how we survive.
But
basically,
it's a real puzzle, isn't it? You have you can't just go to work and come home again.
Oh, no.
There's so much to happen for you to even step foot in the clinic, right?
100%.
You've lived a life before you've got there.
Sometimes when I sit down on the train in the morning, I'm like, I've done a full day already.
And you look around and you think, you just got up, got dressed and have left the house.
I always laugh now, because when I was in the NHS, there would always be these mums sort of walking in, getting quickly changed into their uniform. And there was me and the girls had been out the night before or something. We're like, we are so tired. And then now I'm like, I now know what that mum was up to, all the hours before. And
on the phone to the doctors, to the schools, to the everything. It's crazy. So, I mean, multitasking is your forte, I think. I mean, every mum's forte.
Absolutely. But yeah, I also very much do not take credit that I do. I don't do a lot at home. Like, my husband does the majority of the cooking.
But I feel like you can't do everything, and you have to pick where you're going to put all your energy and effort into. And some weeks it's in the motherhood stuff and work has to take a backseat. And other weeks you're going to go, right, I need to work a lot this week, so actually I'm not going to be the mum I want to be.
No.
That's okay.
And I think it's seasonal as well. You know, when our kids were really young, I mean, they are bigger now. My husband was doing medical exams, and I actually worked a lot less then than I do now. And I sort of backed him to get to where he needed to be. Then he got to the point where he'd done all his exams, got through all of that, and now he's in a very steady place. And then my career needed to take off a bit. So, I think you have to view it, whatever your parenting situation is, you have to be a team and also rally other team members, whether that's paid or unpaid help. There is no perception that we can do it all. It's absolute rubbish.
I really, really like that people are talking about it more because I don't think there's anyone who's really doing it on their own, but some
Not at
people
all.
like to portray that.
Sure.
Or whether it's they portray it or you assume that.
Yeah.
When you're looking
probably a
online
bit
and
of
things like
both.
that, and you can end up thinking, God, how are they doing it all? But like, we aren't. No one
We
is.
aren't.
No one
You should
is.
see the state of my hallway. We're not doing it all. That hallway's
No.
been waiting for a year to be done, but I just haven't had time. So there's about
And you're
25
about to add
colours.
another member of the family into
so the
the
hallway
mix,
has to be done before then.
Okay, interesting.
Love a deadline.
So, one of the things that you are well known for is pelvic floor.
It's very
I'm
important
so
muscles.
surprised you haven't got your pelvis
I
model
know, I
here.
forgot
You
to
usually come everywhere with the model of your pelvis,
My
like it's your
bestie.
handbag. And it's so interesting how I know you because you work with mums-to-be, mums of all different age children, everything, but you also work with men and children, which I think is incredible. And I really feel like, obviously, I'm in the world of motherhood now, so it's like at the forefront of my mind and lots of conversations about it. But I think it's becoming now a thing where we have to educate everybody younger.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I've messaged you saying, my eldest is doing loads of wheeze all day long. And, I was really worried about X, Y, and Z. And it's a real thing. I'm now thinking, I don't want it to impact him when he's older. So what can I do?
Yeah.
So I think it's really cool that you do that. But if we talk about the motherhood side of things, just because this is what we're on, dear mum, what do you think is the emotion that you get most in your clinic when people come in with pelvic floor needs? Is it like embarrassment? Is it anxiety? Like, what do you see most?
I think it's fear.
Fear.
It's fear of what does this mean and what could be taken away from me because of this, in the sense of movement. What type of mum can I be? Will I run after my kids in the park? Will I ever exercise again? It's
so
that
they think you're going to deliver them some terrible news of like,
and they're
this is
afraid
you.
that this is the end of the road, and they're sort of like afraid. So there's a lot of then like relief of like, oh, it's not as bad as I feared, or oh my gosh, there's something I can do. And so, but yeah, I think probably a mixture, but a lot of fear, anxiety, and
because I think
sadness.
we are fed the narrative of once you have a baby, you're going to just wee yourself every time you sneeze, and you can't go on a trampoline without weeing. And that's just it. And my mum said that to me when she was younger. We used to have a trampoline, and she's like, well, if I go on, I'll just have to go and change my underwear because I would have weed. And I just thought, oh, that's just what happens.
Yeah, it's just part of the badge.
And it's amazing that you can deliver that relief to women and empowerment, really. Because I know that you're so passionate about empowering women, as am I, that they don't have to settle.
Totally.
Like, it's very common to have these symptoms, but it's not normal, and that you can do something about it. Because I think we have to go through enough in pregnancy and birth, and then it's like, oh, great, now this is just my life. I can't run anymore, and I can't do this, that, and the other. And actually, there is stuff you can do, isn't there?
Absolutely. And if you think how young-ish we are when we have children, I know that we keep being told how geriatric we are for in our 30s.
Grannies.
Now, me. I mean, what's funny about me is that I had a child, like 9 years ago, when everyone thought I was basically a teenager at 28. And now I'm going to have a child at 38. And everyone's like, oh, you're so old. And I'm like, that's one woman that, can have children in a teenage pregnancy almost, and also be ancient. So it's such a short time in our life, but also I still feel very, very young. To think that now, between now and the rest of my days, and whoever knows how many I have left, that I would then have to accept that is my reality. The knock-on effect of that is so, so huge.
Because the confidence that you lose. Yeah. And then from that, then women say, well, I'm not going to exercise because I don't want to go to a class. I'm too embarrassed if I am going to wee. And then, as you say, the knock-on effect. And then on the exercise side of things, see women like, oh, I haven't exercised for 5 years.
I know.
And now I feel like I need to because I'm going into menopause. And it's
I know. And then everyone's telling me my bones are about to break. And you think, well, I can't do the exercise I want to do to help my bones. And you just end up in this vicious cycle of no hope and feeling like, oh, I'm failing.
I know.
And I think so much of the time we feel like we're failing a bit anyway because there's much
right?
Just like,
yeah, we're always being told we could do better, do better.
And
so what would you say to someone then who is listening to this, nodding along, going, oh, I haven't done anything. I know I should be doing something for my pelvic floor. What's something that's like, because I think, what's the recommendation from the NHS on how many pelvic floor exercises you should do a day?
Well, the reality is it depends what we're treating. And I think this is the actual problem with pelvic health and pelvic floor health is it's just become so generalised that everyone's got to do 3 times a day for the rest of their days.
Well, that's what I mean. And I think if you're doing nothing,
can't do that.
Thinking, oh, well, 3 times a day, 10 squeezes, I'm never going to do that, so I'm just not going to bother. So what would you say to someone if they're in that position? What's the one sort of daily habit that they can take up to sort of get them into it.
I mean, first of all, I just believe that something is better than nothing. So
100%.
first of all, you need to understand where these muscles are and how to connect with them. And just start by thinking, I'm going to set a reminder on my phone once a day, and maybe I'll just do 5 to 10 squeezes. I'm just feel super confident in what I'm doing. In the same way you do with movement.
Doing nothing, like you
exactly.
say.
Like, we don't want to be setting women up for a fail. And I always say, I actually in clinic will say to someone, what can you commit to? Let's start there. I can tell you the research and I can tell you what I think you should do.
Yeah.
But shoulds don't really work in mum life, right?
No, because it almost sends me the other way.
Absolutely. I'm like,
screw dare you tell me to do all that? I'm going to do nothing.
Exactly. And we all do that. But a lot of it's human, right? You become overwhelmed. In order to escape the overwhelm, you just disengage because you can't engage.
Self-sabotage, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
but
horrible.
you can't engage with something that feels completely unrealistic because most of our life is quite unrealistic anyway.
Yep.
So I'm always like, right, let's just ignore the noise and just start with what can you commit to? And let's just start there. And for most people, maybe that's once a week. Or maybe that's once a day, and they have to just choose for themselves. But I think you have to be really honest with yourself and realistic.
Yeah.
Rather than almost looking externally to what's everyone else doing, what's everyone else saying. What can I do? And start there, and then we just work from there.
Once they can do that for a couple of weeks,
Exactly.
they think, great, now that's part of my day or my week. And I always talk, and I know you do too, about habit stacking.
Love a habit stack.
So for me, in the last couple of months, I read an article about how when a lot of older people, their main injuries are from falling.
Yes.
And they can lead to such severe problems. And so every night while I'm brushing my teeth, I make George do it too, which he's not happy about. I make us brush our teeth on one leg.
Yes, balance.
I do like a minute on one leg and then a minute on the other leg.
Yeah.
And if he's getting too good, I'm like, and now close your eyes. Because I want our balance to get better. But it's because I brush my teeth every day without fail. And
Conditioned.
so if you can add on another habit onto that habit, then
Absolutely.
if every day you're brushing your teeth and you think, I'm going to do 5 squeezes every evening,
Totally.
then you know that, well, I'm not going to forget because I have to brush my teeth.
Exactly, it has to come together. But interesting, you talk about falls. There's such a huge link with pelvic health because when you look at the fall stats and then you look at urinary incontinence, a lot of women will then fall on the way to the toilet because they're rushing to get there.
Wow.
So there's actually a real link between pelvic health problems and then falls, and obviously then women then avoiding activity and improving their bone density because of their pelvic health as well. So that's when I'm like, it's basically all about the pelvic floor.
It's all linked back to you and your pelvic floor. Yeah, it's so true.
But it really is. That's why when I wrote my book, I called it Strong Foundations, because it is foundational to so many other parts of our lives.
Yeah.
And you're right, when we go through the fall stats, it's incredibly bleak with not just morbidity, mortality as well.
Oh yeah, well, you know, my husband's grandfather ended up passing away after a fall.
There you go.
And it was so sad to get the results after the postmortem and everything. It was accidental, and it was like, a real shame. And he was a strong guy, but he just tripped. And these things may not have been able to be helped, but if you can put these things into place. So like for me, I just think, well, I can stand on one leg.
Yes.
For 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there.
Totally.
I do it every night, and I kind of feel like
I'm doing something.
Yeah.
But also, the reality is, like, we're both late 30s for me.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you look at the statistics from a muscle physiology perspective, it's all a little on the way down from 35 from a muscle building perspective, right?
Yeah.
So we don't want to be getting to 55, 60 and thinking, now let me build muscle, because then the road back is a lot higher.
And often people just think, well, no, just a bit of yoga.
You know, so many women come into my clinic in their 60s, 70s, are like, I'm just a bit old to make change. I'm like, nope.
No.
We don't have that attitude around here.
I've actually met a lady in the gym the other week who's 52, maybe she said.
Amazing.
And she was like, I've been lifting weights for the last couple of years because I know how good it is for me. And she's like, and I'm loving it. It's so empowering, so fun, better for my joints, all these things. And I actually think that generation is very hard to crack.
Yes.
Like our parents' generation.
100%.
Because they're all still in the, I'm going to get bulky, I need to be on a diet, da. Our generation is like breaking free, whereas the generation beneath us, they all know that.
Yeah, it's so true.
I don't really see many young kids on the cross trainer for hours in the gym. They're all going to lift the weights. And I think
it's so
that
true,
it's so nice to see that. But I think it's our generation above us.
Yes.
That are really struggling to break free from that, because they were just surrounded by diet books. And
oh, I know. But I do say I'm having a lot of women that are coming through now, 60s, looking after aging mothers, being like, oh goodness, the tenor pads and the life that they're living with bladder and bowel. And they literally just come in being like, I started to notice symptoms. Claire, I'm not going there. So can you help me not go there? So I think there is something about, we're really dealing with an aging population that really generationally is some of the first we've really ever had.
Yeah.
There would have been grandparents that would have lived for a long time, but really I'd say the last 5 to 10 years is almost this first generation of coming through with very much aging population.
Yeah.
And
but actually we need to be preventative, right?
Right.
Rather than come in being like, I keep weeing myself, help me, rather than coming in at our age going, I'm going to try and prevent that. Like we do with all the anti-wrinkle creams and all the everything else.
We'll put everything on the face.
Yeah, but we can't see the pelvic floor.
I know. And it's not aesthetically pleasing, let's be honest.
It's not. You say all the time, I can't make pelvic floor that sexy on Instagram. It's really hard.
Though it's related to sex. Which is what's so funny. I'm like, it's the least sexy thing, and yet it's all about, it's the most sexy thing. I know. I'm like, oh.
So true. Yeah. But I think even when I'm training clients, it's like they want to rush through them because they can't see it, and they're like, oh, let's work on my bum. Let's get my tummy flatter. Let's do this. But actually, to get all of that, we need to work on the pelvic floor.
Totally.
So you're saying once a week, once a day, whatever is manageable for you, that's where to start.
Absolutely. And then scale.
And then succeed at that before you then start to move forward. I think that's so important. And then the main takeaway from that, I guess, is that you're not stuck with this forever. No matter what you're in now, there's always something to do. So
always. And like, sometimes it is just, we have to be honest, conservative management, which is what physiotherapy would be, doesn't work for everyone. But equally, I have women come in my clinic and I have the opportunity to sit down and talk through all of their options say, let's go here or let's go here. But having a plan will always feel better than living in fear of what might be. Because generally when we talk about something like we're doing now, you'll feel better about it at the end.
But I think you can build up so much in your head that you end up not going, and then it becomes a huge thing.
Totally.
The other myth I wanted you to bust quickly is, I hear a lot of people saying, oh, I had an emergency C-section, but at least my pelvic floor is fine. And it's, my mum had 4 C-sections and her pelvic floor was not fine.
Yeah.
I think it's about not just the birth, right?
Absolutely. So pregnancy alone. I mean, also what I talk about in my book is that, your journey before that also is relevant. So true. Childhood, teenage years, 20s.
Gymnastics. I remember talking to you all about that. Yeah. Like, I have a weak pelvic floor anyway.
Yeah. Exactly. And, we are people before we fall pregnant. And then pregnancy alone, I mean, I'm 20 weeks and I can still feel this heaviness. You know what I mean?
Crazy.
You could,
But it's 9 months plus of a weight getting heavier and heavier on this, hammock
basically.
So the birth is just one element.
Totally. And it's not just muscles as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like on the fascia of the vaginal walls and onto the bowels, and it's such a complex structure, which is very hard to understand from a muscular perspective, as well as then like organs and everything else. It's a really busy place in the body. But pregnancy alone causes, and then so that's why women like maybe get away with it for 1 or 2 pregnancies or whatever. And then later, or menopause comes along and it's like, oh no, should have done something about it.
Yes, so true.
And again, your prevention, you're right. We don't brush our teeth when they're all falling out.
Yeah, we do it every day.
We do it before.
I know.
And we really have to think that through.
I think we just need to not think that we're immune, because I think we grow up thinking like, oh, those henna adverts we see, not for me.
I think people think because of my job, they're like, you must never have problems.
Well, that's what I was going to say to you. How was your pelvic floor after your last 2 births? Did you feel like you really need to work on it?
Definitely. I mean, there's no doubt about it. When you just, again, if you just look at what happens to the pelvic floor, I mean, I had 2 vaginal births myself. It stretches twice its length. Right? That is an insignificant. If you did that to your hamstring, walking would feel pretty funky for quite a while, right?
That's it.
So whatever happens, however uncomplicated or complicated it is on paper from a medical perspective, physiologically, it's a lot.
It's gone through something, hasn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't come with my CV. It's something I have to work on myself. We all have to, and we all enter that in a completely different way. And I talk about that really honestly, when I've talked about my own story. I didn't just enter at 28. I've been that person. There've been other factors in my pelvic health journey way before that. So I think what's sad for me is that birth gets all the blame. If there's a complication afterwards, it's birth that's the whole story. But actually, when we journey with people, and I work in private practice, so I have the privilege of time. I didn't have so much when I ran teams in the NHS, but you have the opportunity to really sit down and make sense of it all. And that can be one of the biggest things that removes fear and removes some of that kind of self-blame that can come through.
Do you think it's a good idea for people, if they can and have the means to see a physio in pregnancy?
Oh, yeah.
So they can almost
be proactive.
Yeah, and learn what it feels like to do your pelvic floor. Because I remember when I saw you after my first, and you were like, okay, so you were doing an internal examination, which I also had fear about.
Yeah.
And it was fine. And you were like, okay, so just engage your pelvic floor. And I was like, okay. And you're like, no, you're not doing anything. And I was like, what? Excuse me? So all I'd been doing before that was squeezing my bum.
Yeah. And that's really common.
And I wasn't doing anything. So now I know how to do it. I can do it. And I'm getting the feedback like, this is what she meant. Whereas I was honestly pulling all the faces, doing all the things. And you were like, no, nothing's happening.
Sorry, love.
So I think doing it before there's a problem.
If we can.
Also, seeing a physio, if you're not having any symptoms, the NHS aren't going to give you an appointment.
Sadly
so
not.
then you have to pay for it. So it isn't accessible for everybody. But
I think a lot more people are just being like,
you're
actually,
worried,
I'm going to pay to go to the dentist once or twice a year. It's basically the same price, unless you've got really good NHS cover, which is not so easy with the dentist these days. That they're like, actually, even if you just come for one, I'm really not a physio personally who's like, you need to come and see me 10 times. I actually don't want you to. I want, and that's a terrible business model, but I actually just want to empower you to know more about your body. That is fundamentally what I see as my job. So I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to help you understand this, and we make a plan. I think that's
what is so annoying about coming to physios is I want you to fix me.
It's so true. I'm like, sorry, I'm not that
Here's
good.
Your homework. I'm like, I don't want to do the homework. I want you to just fix me. But yeah, you're so right. So I often say to people, if you're that worried and you're losing sleep over it, go and see a physio in pregnancy.
Absolutely.
And then also they know what to compare it to. Like after birth, like, it's not actually that different. Don't worry.
Yeah, you're doing great.
Or we need to work on this.
Yeah.
So we can talk about pelvic floor all day.
Absolutely.
It's our favourite topic of conversation. The other thing that I feel like we really need to discuss is diastasis.
Oh, yeah.
You knew that was coming. So diastasis recti, how do you pronounce it?
I say diastasis recti, but you also have people say diastasis recti, potato, patata, DRA, dram,
God, it's essentially...
It's got many alter egos.
Separation down the midline of your abdominals. But I feel like there's a lot of scaremongering.
Yes.
A lot of people have now jumped on this bandwagon and they're selling exercise plans.
Yeah.
They're selling, follow this, do this, you'll fix it, you won't get it, you'll heal
Prevent
it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So we need to just bust a few myths. So the first thing I want to bust is you can prevent it in pregnancy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love it when I see that on Instagram. I'm like, really? So, I mean, essentially the only way, sadly, you can prevent it is if you have a very preterm labour, right? And that's not what any woman wants.
The genetics, the anatomy is like it has to stretch to let the baby
that's how
in.
we develop a bump, right? And it's a really clever physiological design. Without what we call the linear alba, which is the connective tissue between your six-pack muscles. You literally, it would not widen in order to create
just burst
a bump.
open.
Yeah, well, yeah. I remember when I was, anyway, I probably shouldn't say that on a mum's, but they were talking about the scene from Alien when this burst through the abdomen.
And you just thought, well, people used to say to me,
yes,
is it going to hurt?
Yeah.
When my abs split open.
Like, they don't split open.
Yeah.
So really the definition is nothing to do with splitting or separating. It is the thinning and widening of the linear alba. That is what it is.
So it's like a sheath of tissue that just gets stretched.
Think of like an elastic band that was this small length and then it just stretches outwards, right? It has to stretch.
There's no tearing. Because people honestly have come to me terrified.
Yeah, and that's
what
how
will happen when it tears.
Yeah. And what I'd say is how I felt, and I remember actually when I was training with you first time, and first time it often feels most because it's the first time it's happened.
Yeah.
I remember having a really sore belly button and feeling like there was this real pulling and stretching,
that as well, actually.
Right? So that's what I often say to women, and they're like, oh gosh, is that it splitting? I'm like, no, it's just it moving and pulling in the same way if you did a hamstring stretch.
It's weakening because it's stretching.
Exactly, it thins.
Yeah.
And so that's why you might see the bulging up during pregnancy of what we would, the whole doming. But, thankfully now we're not so afraid of it, especially as physios, but we've got a lot of work still to do to get that out into the population.
Some people I always say to people, if you see any doming, that's just your body's sign to you to say, what I'm doing right now is a bit tricky for me to maintain.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you adapt the positioning? Can you breathe in a different way? Blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
But I think you have a lot of people out there still saying, if you see doming, some people think that that's harming their baby. I mean, it's really sad how much people are jumping onto that.
And I think, women being like, oh, have I got it or not? So essentially, if you look at the literature which they've studied, it shows that 100% of women will have some diastasis recti by 35 weeks of pregnancy.
So that means you don't need to plan to avoid it because you can't.
No, you can't avoid it if you get to that point. Now, obviously, yes, as I say, if you have a preterm, small baby, then there'll be less impact on your abdominal wall. Yeah. But obviously, most of us are worried about that in a completely valid way.
At that point, you wouldn't care about your abs so
exactly.
much.
It's nothing to do with that. So absolutely, it's not something that we're working to prevent. There are things that I think we can be mindful for in the sense of also for our pelvic floor to reduce strain. So not being constipated, not straining, adapt to exercise, listen to what it feels like. I remember just getting to a point where trying to do planks just felt awful. and on my abdominal wall, it just didn't feel right.
You feel there's too much pressure coming from the
in
inside.
the wrong places, and you adapt. So there is an element of being intuitive, but reality is that the factors as to why someone has more than someone else are varied, and very little probably to do with what you have done right or wrong, as we like to label it, and much more to do with genetics, size of your baby, length of your torso, many other factors.
So the longer torso, the bigger the diastasis, or the smaller? Less.
Because you've got, like, I'm very long.
It can stretch up.
So I had an 8-pound-9 baby, and people were literally like, "Where did you keep him?"
Right.
And I was like, "In my massively long abdomen." You know what I mean?
Got more space to stretch out.
There's more space for him to go up.
Of course.
Whereas people who have a shorter gap between their ribs and their pelvis,
has to just go out.
It has to go forwards. And some people have more fluid than other people. Some people have more than one baby. Some people have bigger babies. Some people have gestational diabetes. Like, there are so many factors. Also, my collagen
all we're worried about is the plank.
Is different to you. Yeah, exactly. So this is where you just don't get nuance, and that would also not be sexy on Instagram to be like, did you know?
I know.
That collagen and
but actually, people, how many journalists have asked me, please can you give me the 5 best exercises to prevent diastasis, or what can you not do if you've got diastasis? And it's like a really boring answer for them, but I'm like, it depends.
Yeah, I know.
Which is the answer for everything in pregnancy.
But it's like, the best 5 fat burning exercises, or the best, the best 5.
I still get asked to say that.
Yeah, and people want those answers, in the sense of, how you're saying you want to go to the physio and them tell you what to do and fix you.
I mean, if I knew
as humans, we love it.
I would be a gazillionaire.
Yeah.
If I knew, do these 5 exercises and you will look like a supermodel. Yeah. I would be selling that for millions.
And it's a shame that genetics also comes into that factor.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So,
but it's one of those things that I think when you're pregnant, especially if people have scared you about it, like, oh God, when I had my baby, my abdominals split in half and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. You're going to be scouring the internet looking for ways to stop that happening. Yes. And you will find them. Yeah. They won't be true, but you will find them, because people are honestly selling diastasis prevention plans, which is mental.
Absolutely. So and the reality is, some women do have really significant diastasis, and that is a really tricky journey that we support. But I think that, again, research-wise, because we have to go with facts, is that we know around 2/3 of women, there will be normal resolution within the first 6 to 8 weeks postpartum, and around 1/3 will need some more help. And sometimes, again, we have to be realistic of, what's the goal here? Is it how you function? Is it how you feel and look? Both equally valid. And then we can work together with you to work out what is the best plan. And some women do choose to go and have surgery if it's completely significant and we've done all the exercise and it hasn't got them the goals that they want. That's a very real story for some women.
Say you can have a functional diastasis.
Totally.
So you can still, to look at, have a little gap.
Yeah.
But actually, it works very well. You can still do everything you want to do. You can lift weights. Because I have a lot of women coming to me. Yeah. Is your plan safe for me? Because I'm 8 months postpartum and I have a diastasis.
Yes.
And they've been told, don't lift any weights, don't do anything. Yet they're lifting their 8-month-old baby. And actually, sometimes to further the rehab on the diastasis, you need to add the weight. You need the load. You need to test the muscles. They need to work a bit harder.
Yeah.
And so it's about the education and the empowerment, because I think they're scared.
And I think that's where, as physios, we've still got a lot of work to do, because really what we have to do is help people understand what are we actually talking about. Essentially, we're talking about contractile tissue and, fascia and also ligaments that need load in order to change. And if this was your Achilles, we would have no questions in talking to you about that, because that is just Achilles and that's what we do. But because of the diastasis, I think, sadly, just like classic women's health, we haven't researched it as much. It's all been put in this box of that's just, it's all aesthetic because it's how you look. We've almost lost our brains into thinking, what are we physiologically talking about? Yeah. But when you actually, as you say, we know that muscles need load to change. Yeah. Fascia needs load to change. Therefore, actually deconditioning women is not the answer. Training them is the answer.
Absolutely.
Now, yes, they're going to need support in how to do that so they feel confident and they don't feel uncomfortable. And there may also be hernias involved. And there's other things. Now, again, none of this should stop us exercising, but it's just empowering that person to be like, this is what you need to look for. This is what you need to feel. And also, do you know what? We can move.
Yeah, and also just try.
Yeah, let's try.
I always say to people, you're never going to know unless you try. And one plank, one sit-up is not going to worsen anything. Yeah. And actually, you might do it and think, oh, that felt okay. Yeah. I'm going to try again. Or you might do it and think, oh, no. That didn't feel good. No. I'm not ready yet.
Exactly.
And it's about empowering, because I feel like I just get very sad when I hear women being afraid of these things or dreading things. And I just think there's so much you can do. And how actually tons of clients I've worked with have become stronger after having babies, because they almost start from scratch again and never before babies have we ever built our core from scratch because what we didn't need
Kind of took it for granted.
I know. So actually, you can use this as a real opportunity to be like, I am going to build myself back up much stronger than I was before.
Yeah.
So I think it's just really important to know that like it's not like a sentence to say you can't do anything.
No.
We're all going to get it.
Yes.
It's not going to hurt.
Yes.
There's no ripping. There's no tearing. And oh gosh, I felt so sad when people say that to me.
I know.
They feel like there's going to be pain. None of that, but you might feel sensitive.
Yeah, and a bit
your belly
stretchy
button,
and a bit different. Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Nothing you've done wrong.
Not
like people really blame themselves.
Oh gosh, yeah, and they look for that one thing that they did. And I always say, like, people don't get a disc prolapse in their spine by that piece of paper they lifted off the floor. Do you know what I mean? Which is often when it suddenly happens. Like, I was just picking a pencil off the floor and my back went.
And they don't blame themselves. That's so true.
But it's actually the years and years before that have led to that point. So
that one movement was the last bit.
I think we're always looking for that one answer because it helps us give context and understanding. But often within health, there isn't one episode. Obviously, there are in certain scenarios, but there isn't often one thing that has led to the catastrophic downfall of what might feel like.
So again, if somebody's listening to this, nodding along, saying, like, they might have just had a baby or had it a couple of months ago and they think, I think I've got a gap.
Yeah.
Do they automatically need to see a physio? Or is it fine to follow, say, one of my plans or a plan that's just a postnatal plan that's going to guide them through generally? What would you say?
I think for the majority of women, they are fine just to start moving with a postnatally appropriate plan that gradually loads the core.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if an individual thinks their abdominal shape is really, really unusual, or they feel hard lumps, or they see particular movements, or there is a real significant change,
right?
And I think that's a differentiation. As an individual, only you can know how much of this feels different to you. Then, absolutely build, get stronger, and see how you go. If it's more on the other direction, you just need more guidance because you have no idea what's going on, then absolutely that's when you reach out for help. But the sad reality is here in the UK is that it is still viewed as aesthetic, despite actually being a structural change. And therefore getting support on the NHS can be really tricky. Not all physio teams in the NHS will have it funded as a condition that we treat.
Whereas if it was a man with an abdominal issue...
You would imagine...
Can you imagine
areas.
them being dismissed? They would be in hospital for a month. They would have a rehab plan.
You know what's so funny in pelvic health? It's probably one of the areas that is like more female-centric than male. Do you know what I mean? We've come such a long way in the female space. Now I'm there having to be like, guys, come on, join us. Whereas it's like the only time that comes up. But there are still many, many areas of women's health that, are still very neglected. And I think diastasis is one of those.
But I think it's not necessarily even the medical professional. It's us as a nation.
A society.
Exactly. So, we have a baby and we think, I've just had a baby, I'm going to go do the school run.
Yeah.
If my husband had abdominal surgery or pushed something out of his vagina, as if he would be at the school run the next day.
Yeah.
No way.
No.
And it's
expectation
us as well. Exactly. We think, oh, well, I must be able to handle everything and not give ourselves that sort of kind, patient kind of attitude to our bodies, which I think is crazy. And then we give that expectation onto our children. And,
and off it goes for generations that we're still living.
I know. Yeah. Okay, so then the last thing I wanted to touch on, which we've kind of done it really, is exercise. So there's a lot of mums who have babies and there's no, other than like getting stronger and recovering, there's no like anything wrong. There's no issues. But we still have that loss of identity, loss of confidence. Gosh. Do you struggle with that after yours?
Massively. Yeah, I mean, before I was going to the gym like 4 days a week. I was doing kettlebell class and reformer Pilates. And then suddenly I was like, I'm exhausted. I've got no time. I'm like essentially attached to this child because I'm breastfeeding them. It took me ages. And I had some pelvic floor complications that I was trying to deal with. So I lost all confidence. And it took me like a year. And in the end, I invested in a personal trainer because I just knew I needed to go somewhere with someone who's going to make me feel good about myself, even though technically I could train myself, but I needed someone. I needed that coach. I needed that support. And I recognized that in myself. And that really, really then helped me. But yeah, huge loss. And then same again, though I did kind of get on it a bit quicker second time, I think because I had that lived experience of how good it had made me feel. I was like, this is going to make me a better mum. So got a bit back into it. And actually got stronger than ever after my second. I started lifting heavier weights than I'd ever done.
And once you start, you get the feeling, the look in the woman's eyes when I see them lift heavy weights, heavier than they think they can lift.
Yeah.
Fills me with so much joy because they think, oh my gosh.
I did it.
They go to grab the 2 kilo dumbbells off their back and I look at their baby and I'm like, your baby is probably about 8 minimum.
Yes.
you don't need to be lifting too. And they don't realise that. And then they realise how strong they
No,
actually are. And it's
really
amazing.
are.
But I think there's a big barrier to exercise in the
Yeah.
sense that women or mums put themselves at the bottom of the priority list.
Yeah, totally.
They think, well, I haven't had much sleep, but that's okay because I've got to take my baby to music class and then I've got to make a lunch for them. And then while they're napping, I've got to tidy up this and reply to the GP about an appointment for my baby. And then it gets to the end of the day and you're just shattered and you think, well, I can't.
Crawling into bed is the activity.
Yeah, exactly. I can't possibly exercise.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things I always say to mums, whereas before kids, you could just say, oh, after work, I'll just go to the gym. Nothing just happens anymore.
There's no popping and adjusting.
No popping and adjusting. Everything has to be planned, whether it's putting it in your diary or telling your partner, I really need you to take the baby tomorrow afternoon because that's when I'm exercising. Like, you really need to plan it into your day. And even when you're not motivated, you just need to go through the motions.
Put on the clothes.
Make it become a habit.
Yeah.
Then it becomes where you probably will get motivation eventually from it. But when people wait for motivation, I'm like, oh, honey, you're going to be waiting a long old time.
Same as pelvic floor. You're never going to want to do it.
Never.
So you just have to get on and do it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that's true of most things.
Like brushing teeth. Again, I'm not like
doing laundry.
Oh, yes, I can't wait to do laundry. Can't wait to brush my teeth.
But you do it because it's mechanical. You have to feed the kids because they will lose it at you. But I think because our body generally will survive until it does finally scream, and by that point we're then trying to climb back up the hill.
Yeah,
it's an easy thing to ignore, and I think you're right. I always love it when I'm watching your Instagram and like you're like, I've had no sleep, but I put it in the diary, so I'm here.
And it might be that I change the session. So if I plan myself a really heavy leg workout and I've had no sleep, I'll still go to the gym because I'm like, don't cancel on myself. I really need this. I will change the exercises and it will be a much calmer session. But I just do a bit of movement for me. And then I spend a long time having a nice shower instead of having a longer workout. But it's
the principle
not canceling
of it, isn't
on yourself. And I think if it's that habit, you're like, unless I'm really ill, and I say to myself and to other people, if you think your tiredness is going to be solved by having a nap, then have the nap.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, my tiredness is like 6 years deep now. So one nap is not going to solve it. So actually what I need on that day is to get some energy. And the energy comes from moving my body.
Yeah.
So, and eating well and all those kind of things. So actually you just need to assess, because I'm not saying don't rest, because sometimes you really do need to rest.
You need it, yeah.
But sometimes you don't.
But I also think it's about managing your own expectations, isn't it? Because I think I was in the mindset, especially after my first, of, well, if it doesn't look like what it did before, it's not valid. Yeah. And I think a huge journey I've had to go on, and something I often talk about in clinic, is don't try and there's no comparing of back, because we're never ever going to go back.
No.
We're actually just moving forwards, just into a different time, and that doesn't mean it can't look a bit like before, but you will never be the same person. Like mentally, financially, physically. There's many changes that we go through. And, exercise often is part of that. And so, you being adaptable in that is saying, actually, there's no failure here. The win is getting there.
In a way, it's quite empowering to start again. So you have like your PB post-baby,
Yeah, so true.
And so everything is just going to get better and better again rather than comparing. No, I love that. Don't compare.
You can't go back in any way. And most of us don't want to. Do you know what I mean?
It's not like if you went back, you wouldn't have your baby.
This is it. So but that's how we're wired, of like, well, but also I'm never going to be the same genetics as 28 at 38. So true. I'm not going to be the same person.
How are you feeling?
I mean, generally very good.
About going in, like, have you been exercising this time? Are you being too busy?
Yeah.
Are you feeling like quite empowered about the postnatal journey of like, I'm really going to do?
I think just lived experience is so powerful, right? So I think I generally feel good. I think it's so different this time because, last time I was wrestling a toddler. And then the time before, I'd never done it before. So this time I've kind of got no little people that I'm trying to lug around the whole time. Yes, I have a physical job and our life is hectic, so I'm on my feet a lot. I've really struggled to find routine exercise because I've actually felt worse in the evenings. And my mornings are up and out. We're on the school run by 7:45.
Just physically don't have the time.
And I'd love to be that person who gets up at 6. I'm just not that human. I'm always better at nighttime. So but not anymore. So my mornings and evenings. But we actually had a chat about it this weekend where I was like, right, I'm nearly 20 weeks. I've sort of got through. And my nausea didn't really settle until a few weeks ago. But I now feel a lot better. And I now feel like I've got a good 10 weeks before I'm getting to that big stage.
Yeah, this is the nice bit,
This is the sweet spot where I've really got to maximise, feeling good and practicing what I preach. I mean, it's not like I do my pelvic floor all the time. But, I want to use my bumps and burpees plan. I want to do my training that makes me feel good, which is what I did last time and I did the first time. And I know I mean, I write about the benefits of it, so I know it's not just muscular.
But that's the whole point,
sense.
right? So that we all know about the benefits,
Yeah.
but there's a lot that goes into it, especially if it's not
Making
your
it
first
happen.
pregnancy.
Totally.
There's a lot that comes around before you even do that squat.
I know, exactly. So I've been trying to do a bit of functional movement at home, you know, do my squats, do my lunges. I have some weights in our bedroom, but it's not looked like a workout. But equally, I don't have that expectation of me anymore. And 15 minutes might be it, but it's still valid. You know, I do a bit of stretching. I obviously do a lot of exercises with my work. So there's a lot of like just being active.
Yeah.
But I'd love to get a bit more protected time, mainly so I model to myself getting back into it again afterwards. Because I think when you've stepped off the treadmill, so to speak, hard to get back on.
It is. You will. You'll absolutely do it. And once you figure out newborn life again.
I know. Yeah, wild. Can't engage with it at all. But I mean,
so excited.
We'll just get there.
I'm going to get my newborn fix through you.
Yeah. You can come and
so
sniff
I don't
that
have
at
a
any
fourth
time.
baby. Yeah. Amazing. Well, we could talk all day about this, as we usually do. But I would love to round up with you writing out what you would leave on a mum's fridge. Could be a new mum. It could be a mum of teenagers. Whatever you want.
Love that.
That you think a mum might appreciate reading as they walk past their fridge.
So my main thing is like, you don't need to be perfect. And I think perfectionism is also something that we bring in, and we feel like we've got to get the weaning nailed and get the sleep routine and all that sort of stuff. It's really just us allowing ourselves off, is that, you know, our best is enough.
Yes.
We're not going to be perfect for our kids. And actually, they don't need perfection from us. They actually need humanness from us because they learn from us.
And to show them that they don't need to be perfect either.
Absolutely. And I was talking to a friend this morning, actually, just after the school run, of kind of, you know, that as your kids get older and you're having to navigate them making decisions, you know, sometimes they don't like what I say. And I say to them, guys, we may look back and we might all agree that I was wrong. But right now, this is why I'm making this decision. I'm making this suggestion, and I'm happy to talk about it again. But that's my answer right now. And I'm very happy to recognise that I might get it wrong. And I think that's good for them.
It's good to model that too.
Totally.
To say, sorry, I messed up. Or...
Yeah, totally. And they need to learn that for themselves. That they might be like, I'll make this decision now. I might regret it a bit, or I might choose that wasn't the best thing. But hey ho, I'm owning it now. With all the information I have right now, this is the best decision that I made.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I can't wait till my kids are old enough to understand that. Yes. Because I explain it to them all the time and they couldn't care less.
That's what's so lovely as they grow, is that you do, and you learn from them and they remember things and you're like, oh, I did say that.
Because I really am trying to model the apologising thing. But often I'm like, I'm really sorry I got cross, but you're being an absolute right now. But I try like, I'm sorry
for my behaviour.
Yes, exactly. But stop being so annoying.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. We're going to have to get you back on once you're out the other side to talk about the postnatal stuff. Yeah, when you're so tired you can't talk. I am so excited for you. Thank you for sharing all of that information.
Thanks
I will add all the details below for people to find where you are at all your different places of work. Thank you. You're amazing.